Welcome back to How to Create a Zoom Webinar That Sells Part 4. We're going to talk about tools and technology that make doing your webinar easy. There is nothing more stressful than having your technology mess up on you when you're about to do a webinar or when you're in the middle of a webinar. I know because it's happened to me. And so I want to give you some easy ways to create your webinar, to produce it, that are reliable and that aren't going to probably give you any problems, right? There are definitely tons of resources out there and fancy programs and funnels and products, and absolutely they're great. And I recommend that if you are early stage doing webinars, you really don't have to make it fancy. You can really keep it simple. Use tools that both you and your clients are familiar with to make it easy breezy and to minimize the opportunity for things to go wrong. So let's talk about your actual webinar platform that you're going to use. And the reason we're going to talk about this now is because sometimes that'll impact where you do your landing page, how you do your registration process, and a lot of the things that are downstream from here. So my recommendation, and the reason this is called How to Create a Zoom Webinar, is that you just use Zoom. Zoom is so easy and everybody's using it. Everybody's comfortable with it. It's kind of been integrated into the fabric of our lives at this point. So instead of going out and getting a fancy program like Webinar Jam or all of these other things, GoToWebinar, I highly recommend just use what you've got in front of you. And all of us have Zoom at this point. So you have two options when you decide that you're going to use Zoom. You can actually do a webinar in Zoom Meeting. There's no reason why you can't. Or you can choose the special version of Zoom, which is Zoom Webinar. Now, Zoom Webinar is specifically designed to run masterclasses and virtual trainings like this, but it does cost extra. It's part of the Pro package. So I recommend it, and I'll share in a minute why, but you don't have to use it. In fact, you can very easily run a webinar with Zoom Meeting as well. So let's talk about some of the differences. Let's first talk about Zoom Meeting because that's what everybody's got. Zoom Meeting gives you the option to have everybody in your room, and you can mute them. So you can keep the power so that you don't have people making noise and unmuting themselves, which is one of the benefits of Zoom Webinar. In Zoom Webinar, everybody's on mute, nobody can talk, nobody can interrupt you. But you can create that just as well in Zoom Meeting by just taking a little extra care with the settings at the beginning. So that's kind of a wash, if you ask me. But in Zoom Meeting, you can share your screen, you can do, you can have your screen, you can go back and forth from the screen share. What you can't do in Zoom Meeting that you can do, at least now, in Zoom Webinar is Zoom Webinar, you can have your screen up and you can have your video at the same time right on top of the slides, which is kind of nice if you're going to use slides, which I actually do recommend for most people, not for everything. We'll talk about that in a later video when we talk about creating your content. You know, with both meeting and webinar, you can have panelists, you can have co-hosts that can come on as well, and you can designate them as co-hosts so that they can share their screen. One of the big distinctions between meeting and webinar is that in webinar you can have a chat and you can have a Q&A box. So you can have a place where people are actually posting questions and you can keep them, and you still have that chat. When you're in Zoom Meeting, one of the challenges is that your chat is the only place for your people to communicate with you. And the problem with that is that then your questions might get lost in this long feed if people are very active and engaged, which you actually want on your webinar, which we'll talk about later when I talk about actually hosting the webinar. It's better for you if people are super engaged. And so if they're super engaged, your chat's going to get really long and your questions are going to get lost in there. Another thing that I love about Zoom Webinar that you can work around in Zoom Meeting is that it has a registration page for people to register for your webinar, which captures their email information and, you know, so that you can use it to market to them later. Zoom Meeting, I do not believe has that. Zoom Meeting is, you know, you have a meeting link that you can send to everybody and they pop on. There's no registration form. So you'd have to have people register in another program, like, for example, Eventbrite or ActiveCampaign or Simplero or Kajabi or wherever you are gathering your emails, like, or you'd have to have people register somewhere, and then from that registration, send them an email and give them the Zoom link and everything. So for that reason, I believe Zoom Webinar has the edge, because I think it makes that whole registration and follow-up process much, much easier. Another thing that you're gonna need is some way to communicate with them once they've registered. Now, again, if you're using Zoom Webinar, you can just do the follow-up email sequence right there in Zoom Webinar. I personally like to have my follow-up sequence come from my email marketing, and I like to have my registrations happen in my email marketing. So that complicates things a bit. If you want to keep things super simple, I'd say use Zoom Webinar and use the Zoom follow-up sequence and everything in Zoom, and then export the emails to whatever your email marketing program is. Otherwise, you'll create all the registration in a certain program and then make sure to pull that webinar link and have it be one webinar link and put that link into all of your follow-up emails from a different platform. I hope that makes sense. By the way, I'm going to pause for a moment right in the middle here and invite you to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and throw down your questions and comments and resources below. Another thing you'll want to think about, especially, or really only if you're using Zoom Meeting, is you want to activate the waiting room. I don't know about you, but I have this bug, I guess, in my Zoom program that even though I have the setting in the overall setting to enable my waiting room is never enabled when I arrive at my thing. So the first thing I do is I arrive at my meeting early so that nobody's already on there, and I enable the waiting room. And that way everybody gets put into kind of a holding place. Now that holding place, you can customize that in Zoom. So you can say, welcome to the Retreats to Riches webinar, welcome to the blah, 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 masterclass or virtual workshop, right? You can even have music playing in the background there. So when they arrive, it kind of like feels exciting and nice. So then when you're ready, you can let everybody into the meeting. Just like when you're in Zoom Webinar, when you're ready, you can just, press start and let everyone know that it's time to go. So you start the webinar right there inside of Zoom. Now, another thing, once you're clear about what platform you're going to use and all of that good stuff, you're going to need some sort of exciting, beautiful, enticing landing page, however you build that. I don't recommend using the Zoom landing page as your landing page. It's not branded. It doesn't look good enough, in my opinion. You'll want to have your landing page built in something else. You can keep it super simple. You can use Eventbrite. I did many master classes promoted through Eventbrite. And what I love about Eventbrite is it'll introduce you to new people. You can promote it from Eventbrite in Facebook and in LinkedIn. And then Eventbrite, if they like you, and I don't even know what makes them like you or not like you sometimes, but if they see that your topic is juicy and it's getting traction, they'll actually promote it to people that they think would like your program. And also when you promote it in Eventbrite through Facebook, it will share it with friends of friends. So let's say your friend enrolls, it might show it to other people that person knows. So I don't really know how to optimize. I've tried, I've reached out, I've researched, and there's no real clear way to make sure that Eventbrite promotes your thing besides paying Eventbrite. So that's a little tip. Eventbrite likes it when you pay them, just like most platforms do these days, I guess. So Eventbrite is one place that you can promote your webinar, keeps it really simple. And one of the coolest things about that is that you can have your free webinar, and you can also offer a VIP option in Eventbrite. Now, I love this option. I learned this technique, this trick from Ray Perez, and he works on branding in Miami. He's a friend. And he basically says, okay, do your free webinar and then offer a VIP offer that includes a strategy session with you. That's a sales opportunity. And what I've learned over the years is that there are always people who will pay more for the VIP option. And those people tend to be, many times, great clients because they're willing to pay already from the beginning. So I recommend, if you do use Eventbrite, absolutely take advantage of the feature where you can add on a VIP version of the masterclass. So like masterclass is free, VIP masterclass includes private session with yours truly, might be $100 or might be $50 or whatever the amount is. And that's a really great way to do it. In addition to Eventbrite, you can also create landing pages in Canva now. This is new. I didn't even realize Canva has gotten so much more robust. So you can create landing pages in Canva so that the registration button goes to YouTube so that you can have these two things working together. Another option is lead pages. Lead pages has been around forever. There's a pretty hefty fee, not hefty, but for some people, especially early days, there's a fee involved with using lead pages. And it's excellent because they have templates that you already know work. Now, if you have a system like Kajabi or Simplero, a lot of those systems will already have templates for webinars. So go take a look at those. And I would caution you that be careful. I would recommend picking a very simple template, like a one-pager, something where there's not a whole bunch of scrolling, or at least so that the whole value proposition is visible above the fold on your landing page. And maybe when people scroll down, what they see is social proof, which we'll talk about a little bit more later in the course. All right, so the next video we're going to dive into is video number 5, how to structure your content to convert. I'm excited to see you over there.